I guess we need an intro. Let's go.
Simone's just giving me a hard time. Welcome back to the Extrapreneur 360 podcast, guys. Simone's just giving me a hard time here because she's complaining that when Brad, who was, if you missed one of the last episodes, Brad Silverman was here and he was just sharing his story. She's complaining that he got tequila and she gets coffee.
And I have to make it myself.
Which is all girls who visit my house have to make it themselves. I don't make coffee for women or for men, actually. I don't make coffee.
Serve tequila.
Yeah, tequila's easy. It's quick and it's easy. How are you, Sim? Nice to see you again.
I'm good, Steve.
Nice to have you back in the chair. We've had a few
it
people
is my chair,
cheating on
you.
you.
I might let other people sit in it, but it's
temporarily. So yeah, it's good to come back. We've just been having a cool conversation about sort of what the plans are for the future of the podcast, and me being a little bit more strategic about things, and not more strategic, but getting back to the strategy. I think one of the things that's been clear on the podcast as I started things off, I remember telling you about it. You were quite impressed. You were like, "Hey, you thought about this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been very strategic about how I'm rolling this thing out." And then things launched and they kind of fell off the rails a little bit because everybody jumped in and they were like, "Hey, I want to share my story. I want to share my story," which has been unbelievable. No complaints. But what it's got me back to thinking about now is what is the next stage of the podcast? Like, where does that go? So some exciting things coming, but I thought it would be nice to reconnect with you because we haven't spoken in a little while. There was something that I've actually wanted to discuss this for a little while because I think one of the main things that I share obviously on this platform is my journey of the last 6 months or so, and like how I got my head right and how I got my thinking right. And it ties in nicely to a thing around what you've been going through over the last week or two. For those who don't know and who haven't seen on LinkedIn, Simone's celebrating her 28 years of her digital agency, of her public relations agency. Congratulations.
Correct. Thank you.
Wow, 28 years.
It is quite an achievement.
I mean, you're only 30 years old.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
Thank you for the compliment, but yes.
What a milestone, hey?
Yeah, no, each year is a milestone,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Like each year is like, wow,
Yeah.
because things happen and change so fast, especially in this industry.
Yeah.
So to go from one year to the next,
Yeah.
I think is a milestone and an achievement.
Yeah, and it's even more exciting, I think, is that we've spoken on the podcast over the last couple of episodes, or in some episodes, about your plans for the future of the agency. Like, you've got big plans for where you want to go next.
I think I mentioned in the last episode is I'm at the time of my life, and headlines life cycle that I can take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So that's the plan.
Yeah, amazing. And you're looking for that. I mean, that's what you're deliberately doing. You're being very deliberate about it, which is...
Well, I think you've always got to be looking for new business.
Yeah.
I think you can't get complacent anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm actively looking for new business, looking to engage with a business coach to help me.
Yeah.
And just spend more time and more focus on it.
Yeah.
I think we've got an excellent foundation. We're really good at what we do. And it's time to expand on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've always known that you're great at what you do. You've always been, for me, one of the premier PR agencies, and I've had my experience with PR agencies over the years. So from my days as a journalist. So I agree. You definitely have that. You guys have always been, as I say, one of the premiers for me. And I think what's so cool about it as well, and I feel proud to be part of your journey in that way, is that deliberateness that you're attacking this growth of your business with. I'm stoked to be part of it because I feel like I'm influencing you to be deliberate and to like push yourself, which is
you
cool.
Definitely are. I think you challenge me, and I think I have some level of accountability. Posting on LinkedIn, for example, is way beyond my comfort zone.
Okay. Is it?
Very much so.
Because you were so okay with doing it, kind of thing.
Well, because I think I've accepted the fact, well, not accepted, I've acknowledged that that's part of the journey.
Yeah.
It's what I preach to clients all the time.
Yeah.
And in order to grow your presence and in order to grow your brand, that's one of the things that you need to do.
And maybe that vulnerability episode that we did helped you a little bit get into that mind frame, well, of me just being completely vulnerable and saying, hey, I'm putting myself completely out there.
And I know people like doing business with people.
Yeah.
So you show that human side and more people can relate.
Yeah.
So show the fear, show the uncertainty, along with everything else. So look at the ups and the downs.
Well, I mean, for the last like 8 to 10 years that I've been working with agencies and as a digital marketing or as a marketing and growth, helping people with that side of it, I've always said video. I mean, that's not even what I've been saying. It's just a trend. Put yourself out, put your face out there, video content, and that's why TikTok and Instagram and all these things have exploded so large. Is because you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to, as you say, people like to do business with people. You've got to put your face out there. Super uncomfortable, super cringe, but it's that being comfortable.
Okay, baby steps for me, please.
Still trying to get Simone to put her face into camera, but we'll get there. She's way better looking than I am. But yeah, so just, I mean, I think that number, or where we started with this milestone of yours is, and I say like 28 is a number, it's a metric, it's a big number. And it just got me thinking, it's something that I wanted to share in the podcast about very briefly, just to say, and I know that a lot of people out there are probably going to disagree, and even I disagree with what I'm going to say, because I recognize that numbers are important. But one of the things that I found really helpful over the last 6 to 8 months at getting my mind frame right and getting my mindset right is by ignoring numbers and by ignoring metrics and by ignoring the detail. So I've had a very big problem in my life for years and years and years. I've been very obsessed with the detail and very obsessed with getting things perfect, and very obsessed with like how each little thing works. And it's held me back from executing and fulfilling on things that I wanted to do. And as I came into this journey, I made a commitment to myself to say, hey, dude, forget about it. Stop worrying about that. The build, measure, learn thing, the MVP, get it out there, let people see it, and with their feedback you can make changes. And it's without a doubt the most important decision that I've made that's helped me to fulfill on what I've wanted to do and like build this new journey that I'm on.
But kudos for you for acknowledging that as well.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, because it's super uncomfortable turning your back on something that comes so naturally and that you are so used to doing. To turn your back on it and say, hey, I'm not going to do that anymore, even though that's where I find comfort, and go, hey, it's completely uncomfortable for me to put this out there, knowing that I haven't looked at the detail of it, but you've made a commitment, so do it. And then it actually works out okay. Maybe it's not as perfect as you would have wanted it, but then it would never have gotten out there. That's the whole point about the whole build, measure, learn thing. From a practical perspective, I mean, I've got a really practical example of how I've done this and like where it's hit, where the rubber's met the road, for lack of a better term, is in my running. So I used to run. I've run all my life, basically. My dad was a very big runner, 14 comrades. He was a long distance. He had that demon in him that I think it was Joe Rogan used to say, like, anybody who does those ultramarathons, they've got a demon in them that they're trying to run away from or run with or whatever it is. And I couldn't agree more. Like, if you're doing those ultras, kudos to you. I think you're nuts. My dad did them for years and years and years. And I believe they're unhealthy for us as humans. I don't think they're good for our body. But as I say, that demon takes over and people do them anyway. But I've always been a runner, and I've always been a very short distance runner, like 3Ks, 5Ks was like the most. And I always used to say to myself, that's good. And like I was proud of that, and that's all it was. And when I made a decision, I talk about that a little bit more about being, the atomic habits and identifying as who you want to be and like identifying as the person you want to be. I started saying, hey, I need to identify as a runner if I want to start going longer distances. And that's how I lost a lot of weight. And, I started to enjoy running a lot more. The way that I did that was by forgetting about the numbers and walking away from the metrics. I used to run, and I used to, like, just as a practical example, on my Nike Run app, I would have the setting would be on every kilometer. It would ping me and say, hey, you've run 1 kilometer and you have paces. And that's how I just thought you meant to do it. The day that I turned around and said, hey, I'm actually turning that off. Turning notifications off. I don't give a shit how far I've run. I don't care how long it's taken me. I don't care what my time is. All I know is I've got an hour to run, so I'm going to run 30 minutes in that direction. I'm going to run back. The minute that I stopped caring about those numbers, those detailed numbers and like those little metrics, was the day that I started enjoying running. And I think the lesson or the message that I want to get across here is a lot of the time we tend to hold ourselves back, or we tend to put so much emphasis on these tiny little details that keep telling us that we're not good enough, that we haven't achieved what we wanted to achieve, that we've still got further to go, that we actually don't enjoy the activity that we're doing, and then we don't continue to do that activity. And maybe in like reading a book, we might say, hey, I'm going to read 10 minutes a day. So we go, hey, set a timer for 10 minutes. And then we read for 7 minutes, and we're like, oh my God, I have another 3 minutes to go. I'm hating this. But if we rather just say, hey, I'm just going to read today. I'm going to read. Whether it's for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I'm just going to read.
It takes the pressure off, and I think it's more enjoyable then.
Yeah, well, you enjoy the activity, and you're doing the activity for the sake of doing the activity, not for the sake of reading 10 minutes a day. And I recognize how contradictory this is to 75 Hard, which is, I'm going to get ready on this podcast because it's coming thick and fast in the coming weeks. I'm going to be starting it again in the coming weeks, 14th, 15th, around August, mid-August, starting with another crew of people. So if you're interested in listening to this, please get in touch. We want you to join us. But 75 Hard says, hey, you need to read 10 minutes every day, which is part of the challenge. But you get to day 55, 56, 57, and you're hating those 10 minutes. Like, sometimes you're enjoying them. I say you're hating them, but sometimes you enjoy them. But you tend to like, oh, I've got to read the 10 minutes because you know you want to keep at the challenge, so you read the 10 minutes. But you don't love the 10 minutes. You're doing it so that you're loving the 75 Hard, the discipline. That's what you're loving. But you're not loving the reading. It's something you need to do in order to not fail at this challenge that you've put your mind to do. So I recognize it's contradictory, and a lot of the stuff I say is contradictory, so I don't care.
Well, there are no rules.
Yeah, exactly. But I just think it's a good lesson from my side about how I've achieved what I'm so proud of myself. What I've done is I've stopped focusing on these minutia, detail, irritating little things, because it'll never be enough. You will never ever be happy if you're constantly, if you've got 5 metrics that you're keeping an eye on. You'll never be happy if you miss.
Because there's always going to be something else or something
Exactly.
better or one more.
Exactly. And it comes into business, from an OKR perspective and KPI perspective. Like, I was helping a business recently put together like a strategy cascade and OKRs and KPIs. And we gave the task to the one lady to put together the scorecard and the KPIs and all that. She came back with like 30 KPIs. And I was like, how are you ever going to keep track of this? How's the person whose job this is ever going to know if they're doing a good job or not, if they've got 30 KPIs? Let's boil it down. These 5 KPIs can all be boiled down to 1. Those 6 can be boiled down to 1. Like, we land up with 3 KPIs. We're like, this is the bottom. Let's start here. Sure, as we go on, we might add things. So that's my point. What I'm saying here is, if you're going running, start with 1 achievement. I'm going running for an hour. That's it. Don't care about how fast you go. Don't care about what your pace is. Don't care about how many kilometers you've done. But
you don't think, that's good as a starting point, but you don't think you need goals, and you need to.
So that's why I come back to what you did with 28 years. You probably didn't start out with the goal of 28 years, but you've achieved the goal of 28 years, which is unbelievable. And you need those goals. So that's, again, another contradiction, because the goals are so important.
I never had a goal.
Yeah.
And I never had a business plan. And
No
I never had a
direction.
big picture.
Yeah.
I literally, one client at a time.
Yeah. And look how far you've come, 28 years. Successful, like, unbelievable. And I agree with you, though, you do need those goals. Those goals are absolutely key. So, for example, your goal is, and I guess for me the goal was, hey, you need to start identifying as a runner. If you're going to start taking running seriously and you want to get better at it and go further and do that, you've got to start identifying as a runner. So that was my goal, identify as a runner. That means you got to wake up every morning. Your goal is get up every morning and put your running shoes on and make sure you've got your app and your watch is charged or whatever. Identify as a runner and you start going. There's your goal. Then my next goal was, once I was comfortable with that and once I'd gotten over this irritating, you're watching every kilometer, my goal became to run a half marathon. So on the Nike Run app, I started a training plan for a half marathon, and actually this weekend I'm supposed to do it. I will do it. I've already done 21. Don't tell anyone. I ran it by mistake. It's
just between you and us.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I ran 21 by mistake. I was meant to run 20 on the plan, and then I landed running 21. And I was like, I felt on top of the world that I'd achieved my goal. But my goal was actually to finish the training plan. I'm going to finish it this week.
But you know what's interesting I found about running and goals and mindset is, if you start the run out and say, I'm going to do 10 Ks, then by 8 Ks you start feeling tired and you finish the 10. But if you had started out and said, I'm going to do 5 on the exact same day, by 3.5, 4, you feel it's a mindset. You set your mind to say, I'm going to run 10 or I'm going to run 20. And if you're running 15, you can do 20. And if you're running 20, you can definitely do 21.
And so what you've just described is something that I experienced myself. 100% experience. When I stopped caring about how many kilometers am I doing, I'm going to run 5, I'm going to run 8. And I just said, just go run. I started finding myself getting to like 8 kilometers, which is unheard of for me. I was like, geez, 8 kilometers. Going, dude, I'm feeling strong, man. I'm going to keep going. Because I didn't have, like you said, I didn't set a time of 5 and go, so get to 3 and you're going, oh, I'm just going to run. And it's just so liberating when you don't have this pressure, like you said as well. It's spot on. It's pressure. You put pressure on yourself. Stop putting pressure on yourself. Just go out and enjoy the activity. If you know the activity is healthy for you, just go do it. Doesn't matter how fast you go or how far you go or whatever it is. Just go do it because it's healthy for you. And slowly you'll start to figure out, hey, I'm actually not bad at this and I'm quite enjoying it. Let me set a goal. I'm going to run a half marathon. Don't set a goal, I'm going to run 5 kilometers every day. Say, I'm going to run a half marathon in 6 months' time. Like, set that kind of a goal, a big goal that you can work towards, that you can say, hey, I'm going to enjoy this. And of course, there's going to be a coach out there who says, no, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just talking from my experience. This is what my experience has been. And who knows, you might land up 28 years later going,
running a half marathon.
If it takes you 28 years to get to a half marathon, you've got bigger problems. No, it's I don't know. It's just a share that I wanted to put out there because, as I say, like the numbers and the metrics, we tend to like overemphasize and put so much emphasis on them and put so much pressure on us. And I mean, I guess from a business perspective, you need to pay attention to the metrics. You need to pay attention to the numbers. You need to know that you're bringing in X amount of revenue. And
it has to be measurable, like what you're achieving for your clients.
100%. Well, there you go. And what you're achieving for yourself. Are you able to pay bills this month? Are you able to pay yourself this month? So you need those metrics. But are you allowing the metrics? This is something that happened, what's it called, analysis paralysis. It happened in our previous business where we were just tracking so many metrics that they became meaningless to us because it became, and at the end of the day, and this is what my business coach used to come to me and say, dude, you've got a dashboard of 30 columns going across here. What's the most important metric here? And I'd say, no, that one and this one. Okay, well then just focus on those two. Stop focusing on like, and it really did help us to focus on what we needed to do. What lever do we need to pull in order to affect that? Just pull that lever. All the marketing should go into that. All the sales should go into that. All the emphasis, spotlight should be shined on that. Everything else will come right as you go. And it did. It started to come right. The other things, things like customer satisfaction or NPS score, whatever it is, that started to come right once you get that right kind of thing. So just know what your key metrics are and focus on those. Don't overdo it, I guess.
Be selective over where you spend your energy.
Yeah, totally. Well, we're only human. We can only do so much. Yeah. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Let me know how the 21 goes.
Yeah, I'm not worried. it's so what's the word? Not ceremonial. I guess the word ceremonial because I've gone 60. I was meant to do it in 16 weeks. The Nike Run app training plan was 16 weeks. I started the 16 weeks in October, November last year while I was still in Los Angeles. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to do a half marathon. And I landed at that. So that's 7 months. We're at the end of July now. So it's 7 months plus another 2 months. It's 9 months ago. So 16 weeks is 4 months. It's taken me 5 extra months just to do a 16-week plan because, and I did it at the end of the Live Hard program. My last month actually was when I started the Nike Run app, the training plan. I did it at the end of that and came into this year. And it got me just getting this dropping this mindset of focusing on the numbers and how am I doing and how's my time and you've done a kilometer, you've done another kilometer. Just getting off that allowed me to start enjoying running to the point that as I got into January, end of January, I was like, I'm actually not going to do the Nike Run app this month. I'm just going to run because I enjoy running. I'm loving the running and I'm like loving the music that I'm listening to and I'm loving just being in Joburg in the summer in the streets here. I'm just going to run. So for a month I just wouldn't touch the Nike Run app. I would just run for the sake of running. And then I go back to the 16-week plan and I'll do another few weeks and then I go out like be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do some more training and weight stuff and this, that, and the other. So although I was meant to do it in 16 weeks, it's taking me 9 months.
It's okay because the numbers aren't important.
Yeah. The message is received. That's it. And so like this ceremonial, I just need to finish it off. Then I'm off to Mozambique to party.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going to Mozambique to an outdoor festival. For those who don't know of Mozambique, if you're interested, if you're going to be there, hit me up, let me know. And then as soon as I get back, 75 hard. And I expect that Simone is going to be doing it with us.
I'll watch.
I'm getting a lot of that. I'll watch. But yeah, it's 75 hard. It's my brother-in-law Harry's actually just started it. He's giving it a go. I've got a few people who are interested. There's a lot of skepticism around it. There's a lot of fear. Like, oh, who's got the time? Trust me, everybody's got the time. If you stop watching TV and you stop buggering around and you just like you get organized, it's very, very doable. Even with like 3 kids or whatever people are talking about. So it's doable. So it's on. Just like this, the cold swim with me. Thank you, Sim.
Thanks, Steve.